If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.
A new host also with me, and we thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. We have it for you to ask your questions, and we'll try to work those in with some answers that you can get. You can listen to the show and tell your friends that you can get it by going to Produce Justice. That is producejustice.com. The show is up on our web. However, you can also watch the show. You can watch the show by going to Facebook, producejustice.com, book at Produce Justice, Neely Fuller Jr., and also YouTube at producejustice.com. Ways that you can get in contact with the show. Gate, let me see your greetings today and the purpose of the show.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, and good morning to everyone tuning in. Glad to be here on another Tuesday, and I'd like to welcome everyone who's tuning in for the first time. And a special thanks to all of the followers who've been following the show when it was on Blog Talk. We were on Blog Talk for 5 years, and for anybody who's new to the platform, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller were joined at the hip for 5 years on the air. Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller. You can actually go to producejustice.com and listen to some of those old shows. Just go to past shows, and you'll see a drop down. You can click on Blog Talk, and you'll see 5 years of shows. You can listen and tune in, get caught up to date. So I want to thank everybody for the people who tune in during those times. And also, you can also find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube. You can also tune into the website and just follow the show live on the website. You don't have to go to social media necessarily. If you just one of those people that like to get on your phone or your iPad and just follow the show. The show was actually, this is a relaunch of the Counter-Racist Code show in digital video format. For the past few years, we were doing the show on Blog Talk, and now we're doing it on a different platform, and we're glad to have everybody. And just to bring everybody up to date on Mr. Fuller, of course, we had Mr. Fuller's untimely passing on February 1st of this year. He had an illustrious career, and he was just an ardent advocate for justice. And before that, he worked for 32 years at the Treasury Department. And he was laid to rest over at Quantico back on February 13th. He was dressed in the Muskogee attire. His mother was a half Muskogee of the Creek tribe, and so. We did a final show, matter of fact, on Radio 1. I did a tribute on Radio 1 to just pay homage to Mr. Fuller and his many years of service. And I've never seen anybody that was so committed to justice. And I'll quote one of his favorite quotes was, how he defined justice was to make sure that no one is mistreated and that those that need help the most get the most help. Yeah. And so we're just trying to I am not here to replace Mr. Fuller because that's an impossible task. But what I am here to do is to make sure that his legacy continues. And so Mr. Bobby and I have been at Mr. Fuller's side for the past 5 years. He was his co-host, and I was the producer of the show. And so we spoke to the family, his son Mark, and we all agreed that as part of our, it behooves us to keep the legacy alive by continuing this show. And so we appreciate everybody who's tuning in, and we accept your comments. We'll put some of your comments on the screen. And we're just glad to be here on this beautiful March 25th, 2025.
Absolutely. Speaking about the great work that Mr. Fuller, you can do that by ordering the books. You can get the books by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. You will hear that all throughout this program, as you did when Fuller and I did it on Blog Talk, and even before that, when we were on talktainmentradio.com, Mr. Fuller and I. That's how you support the show, by getting the books, by going to producejustice.com. And Gate, what is the status of books?
Well, we just got in a brand new shipment last week. The books are all in. We have the 3 books. We have the original book that Mr. Fuller wrote in 1984. Then he wrote the Word Guide in 2010. And then in 2016, he wrote an expanded version of the original book. And you can get the books in a bundle. You can order them separately. We have quite a few people who are ordering them by the case, giving them out to people because they feel that strongly about Mr. Fuller's works. And so you can go to producejustice.com, and as soon as you get on that page, you will see the main 3 books. And if you want to order it in bulk or check out other books, just go to the order button at the top. And so the books they encapsulate Mr. Fuller's work. Mr. Fuller was, as he was doing the show for the past 5 years, he talked about the books, but sometimes you'd ask him a question and he'd say, hey, just go to the book. And so what we'll be doing on this show, we're going to be actually bringing some quotes from the book. And just to remind everybody, later in the show, we're going to talk about one of the topics that was near and dear to Mr. Fuller, and that was getting out of debt. Mr. Fuller spoke about this numerous times, about the importance of getting out of debt. And Mr. Bobby, we have a question on the screen from People Activity.
Yeah, I saw. I was going to ask you about that.
She says, please explain to my chair unit
go ahead.
The importance of dismantling the system of white supremacy. Well, I have my take on it, Mr. Bobby. You want to take a shot at it first?
Well, as I did last week, and speaking about this, the importance is that we have to know and understand what is before. A lot of times we don't, because we were captured on this continent. We were taught or educated. Carter G. Woodson said the miseducation of the Negro. We were in a system of injustice, and it has progressed into the all 9 areas of people activity, as Mr. Fuller has always explained, and that information is also in the book. But we have been solely indoctrinated that we act out exactly what the people who enslaved us wanted us to be like, so that they could completely dominate us. And because we weren't permitted or didn't know how to educate or teach our families what was really going on, and every time that we were killed, lynched, all kinds of things. In particular, there's a book, Without Sanctuary, by I believe his last name is Allen, which goes to one of the many books that goes to show you how, what, and why they did what they did to us. And to some extent, even today, that is still going on. But this is what we must explain to our families. And then in order to break it down, we have to dismantle it. How do you dismantle it? You start by telling the truth, as I just mentioned here. It may seem little, but that's how you start. Mr. Fuller did not just stop with dismantling it, because you cannot dismantle something and then just leave it there. You have to replace it. And what do you replace it with? You replace it with justice.
Mr. Bobby.
Yeah, replace. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you replace it with justice, compensatory justice. And Gate explained that. Mr. Fuller said, guaranteeing that all people are treated equally and that those that need the most help get the most help. Gate?
Well, Mr. Bobby, you nailed it. One of the importance of dismantling the system of racism and white supremacy, one is because it has infiltrated our everyday lives. And Mr. Fuller has very poignantly pointed out, he used the 9 areas of activity, and that racism has infiltrated each one of those areas. Those areas are economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and counter-war. So when you have a system that has permeated basically your everyday life, that means it's gonna cause problems. It's gonna make you less than. It's going to create obstacles. You're gonna have to work twice as hard. You're gonna have to fight, use your psychic energy on a day-to-day basis. And it dismantles justice. So when you have something that's infiltrating all 9 areas of activity, basically almost your entire being, every aspect of your life, you cannot be your full self. Your community cannot prosper. So it must be dismantled and replaced with a system of justice. And that's been Mr. Fuller's call from day one. Replace the system of racism and white supremacy with a system of justice. And until we do that, we are all just, as he say, we're in a prison yard. We're prisoners in this system of white supremacy. And that's why it's so important that we dismantle it. Great question, people activity.
Absolutely. Don't forget, you can still, and we encourage you to ask your questions so that we can answer it, because, we are still formulating this show. This is not going to be, how can I say this? We're searching to make the show better. So there's going to be mistakes made. This is not going to be like what Fuller and I did. It's going to be different. But as we grow, then we'll know what to do and what not to do as we seek balance to try to present the best possible show that we could do for the hour that we have. Let's go here in the continuation of Women's History Month. I want to talk about a lady that I do not know personally, but I've been following her, and she doesn't know this, but Miss Kathy Hughes, a radio media pioneer. Gate, tell us a little bit about Miss Kathy Hughes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bob. You picked a wonderful person, a very deserving person to highlight during this Women's History Month. Miss Kathy Hughes, of course, she's the CEO of Radio One, Urban One. I had the pleasure of working through my radio show when I was a media buyer for many years in corporate America. We bought a lot of media through Radio One, and I had my first opportunity to meet her at one of the gatherings. And she recognized me from my name because we had bought so much media, namely to put on the show, Joe Madison show. So Joe Madison actually got one of his on his trajectory to fame. He was the station manager for a while, a program manager for a while. He had a show on Radio One, where he was the Black Eagle.
Yeah, the Black Eagle. Yeah.
He did that for many years. And so that's kind of like a crowd that I ran in quite often. Of course, I did. I was worked for Mr. Madison for many years. We did his social media, his website, his public relations. I did a lot of work for him. And so Miss Kathy Hughes, she was when we brought Joe Madison over from he was over at WRC at DC. And so I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Kathy Hughes through Joe Madison. We were doing a lot of media buying through him.
Yes.
Of course, and since then, Miss Hughes has built a powerhouse over at Radio One, many stations across the country. And matter of fact, she's been honored over at Howard University. They have a School of Communication named in her honor over at Howard University. So I'm saying I'm glad to hear, Mr. Bob, that you chose to highlight her on this. She's on this Women's History Month. She's very deserving, and I take my hat off to her. And thank you for putting the spotlight on her this morning.
That's right. Hey, Kathy, if you're listening, call me up. I watched her back when she and Dick Gregory had a little spot on there. I think was she ever at WOL at one point in DC?
Yeah, WOL was actually WOL was the flagship station.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. As a young man, I used to catch those interviews, and she was on there a lot of times. And man, oh man, and she has really prospered. So anyway, I would one day hopefully get an opportunity to chat with her and speak with her. Okay, how about this? Or write in and talk about the movie list. And on our syllabus that we have here, I think one of the movies that came up was the Wizard of Oz. You want to make a comment about that, or why was that on the list, or what was Fuller's list?
Well, if you once again to the people who've been following Mr. Fuller, very familiar with it, maybe familiar with his movie list. So go to producejustice.com. You'll see the movie list. And so I've just over the years I've gone through the list and look at certain movies, and usually when I watch, I'm sitting there. I do a lot of movies because I have a very busy schedule. Sometimes I use the movies to depressurize and to just relax. And so every time I'm looking at a movie, I say, I wonder if this movie's on Mr. Fuller's list. And so this past weekend, I had the displeasure of watching parts of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Now, of course, besides those monkeys scaring the bejesus out of most people, many people ask, what is the message behind this Wizard of Oz? And I tell you what, I also Mr. Bobby, I was looking at some people's take on the who's the good person and the bad person. Many people, they talk about the two evil witches, but many people, this is a different take, and I've checked this take out. Some people say this so-called good witch Glinda was actually the one who was full of chicanery. So when you think about it, Glinda got Dorothy to get rid of her two rivals and to take out the Wiz, the wizard. And then not only that, if she really wanted to help Dorothy, I mean, she could have done it earlier. I mean, she let Dorothy go through all this trouble, going up yellow brick roads and houses dropping on witches and pouring water on one, and to get the shoes. And so who was the bad witch? Now I say that to say, and I'm not sure what exactly Mr. Fuller's message was for putting this on his list, but I will tell you this: when we're in this system of racism, white supremacy, and somebody else is writing the narrative, throughout history, we've been conditioned to accept who the good guy or girl or bad guy or girl is based on the narrative or the people who are in power.
Yes.
You can do that with just about not any movie, but any political situation, any combat situation, or just go back through the 9 areas of activity.
I was getting ready to say that, all areas. Exactly correct.
Exactly. So that is my take from this movie, Mr. Bobby, is that I think it was Mao Zedong said, he who has the power decides who's right and wrong, or right is on the side of the stronger. But and that goes back to whoever holds the pen, who holds the mouthpiece, who delivers the message, determines who is right or wrong. And I'm not saying who was right or wrong in The Wizard of Oz. I'm just saying Mr. Fuller put that book on his list for a reason, and I'm sure it just wasn't to see those monkeys singing "Follow the Yellow Brick Road."
No, and then the colors. You mentioned the yellow brick road, which was the Emerald City was a symbol of green, which emanates are money, and all the things that surround that. There's a lot of symbols in there. The poppy field, where we know if you do with poppies will put you to sleep, if you know what I mean, as far as drugs are concerned. There was a lot of symbols in there. But the thing that which we don't understand, which Glenda did tell Dorothy in that movie, is that all she had to do was to click her heels and she could go home, because there is no place at home, meaning this, that we actually have the power within ourselves. The Bible speaks about this treasure in earthen vessels. But the problem with that is that we don't believe it. But once we believe it and act on our faith that the power is in us to change things, we can change things, and we will change things. And you change things by starting to tell the truth.
Look at what
on that. Go ahead.
Look at what Still Learning says. Still Learning makes a good point. It's one thing to watch a movie. It's another thing to see a movie. He says watching does not require examination. You're only following the sequences.
Yeah.
But seeing requires the ability to interpret the meaning behind the signs, symbols, language, movements, and color schemes, etc. And so when you get a chance, go and to those listening, get a chance, go check out Mr. Fuller's book list on producejustice.com. And he put those books on there for a reason.
Yes, he did.
And so he didn't go through the list, at least not during the 5 years I was producing the show, to break down the meaning of every movie. Every now and then somebody would bring up a movie and say, what was he would talk about The Godfather. He would talk about this movie, Saving Private Ryan. He talked about Shawshank Redemption. These are just some of the movies that's on the list. But I would entreat you to go check out the list and maybe bring it back to us with your own interpretation, and we can actually talk about it on the show.
And as we go into, you were getting ready to break down debt, and Mr. Fuller did address that. One of the things that Mayor Rothschild said, and he said this to his 5 sons, basically to the world, he said if he could control the currency of the country, it didn't matter who was the president. That oligarch could control an entire nation. So it didn't matter who was the president or whatever the monarch was, because it's all about, as far as ever concerned, about money. And if you think about it, everything is, as we see now, is about money, which brings me to this point. Now, I have no documentation for this, but I've been noticing, I don't know about you, Gate, but I've been noticing that a lot of businesses have been calling or trying to get people to use a HELOC, home equity loan, something like that.
Home equity line of credit, yes.
Yeah, home equity line of credit. And as I got to thinking about that, being that we are in this system and we have been indoctrinated into this system, they make it seem like it's a good thing, but I tend to differ. But again, I don't have any documentation for this, but I was writing about it yesterday, and it seemed like to me it's more of a way to get you into their system to be indentured, even though it's a home equity. I mean, it's a line of credit, but you're still, in my opinion, and again, I have no documentation for this, but it seems like you're indentured, to long term in terms of paying it off, which I don't know if we'll ever pay that off. But yes, to be in debt is one of the tools that the system of racism insists on having. And they don't want that dismantled. They want to keep you deeper in debt. Gate, what is your take on that?
Well, Mr. Bobby, HELOC, the home equity line of credit, it depends on how you use it. I would say, as a famous quote that I think was in matter of fact, it was in Mr. Fuller's book. Beware of anybody who tries to get you to increase your needs, because there's needs and there's wants. And we've been taught to put our money and our resources towards our needs and not so much on our wants. But if somebody's trying to convince you that you need more, then you should be wary. So when somebody says, look, well, you need to get a HELOC because you're going to do something to take care of this need, that need might be something that may be suspect if somebody has convinced you that now you have a new set of needs. But your needs are pretty basic. And that's some of the things that Mr. Fuller has talked about, that we want to make sure we take care of our needs and not our wants. But if somebody's trying to get you to increase your needs, then you should be suspect. I've as a business developer, we talk about people who are starting businesses, and just like we're talking about credit, we're talking about loans and funding and things like that. It depends on what you plan to do with that money once you get it. If you're getting a HELOC to start a successful business, then of course that could be better than going to a bank. If you have money in the stock market and you can do a margin loan, get 50% of the value of your stock, then of course that's a good use of those funds. But if you're doing it for something for a need that's questionable, then I say tread gently, tread lightly.
And I think that's what I was saying also, because what I have learned and still learning, notice I said still learning, is that after I wrote that paper, I realized that in some cases, you have to do your research on this. And I came up with this, which is this: don't let the HELOC use you or anything or anybody, but you research it and find out and you use it to your advantage. It may not be for you. Don't get it because somebody else said get it. But if you do that, make sure you do your due diligence in finding out how it can work, how you make it work for you and not you work for it. Because if you do, then you will be indentured to it and stay in debt, which is what they want you to do, is to constantly be in debt. Yes, we all have needs, but yet be in debt. I like what the word says about owe no man anything except the debt of love. Don't you feel free when you don't have debt? You know, when you don't have to borrow something from somebody like that at interest, because they can control that. And
Right.
You don't want that. Like with credit, it's okay to have credit as long as you use the credit and don't let the credit company or credit use you. Because I have found the agreement, which means, and they have done this, that at any time they could change the rules of the credit. And if you're in it, then you have to abide by the rules. Gate?
Mr. Bob, you exactly. I like that quote. I've used it many times in my as a business developer and consultant, and helping people start their businesses and get funding and write business plans and put up social media platform. One of the quotes that I use the most, particularly talking about something like social media, is that use social media and don't let it use you.
Right.
And that applies to so many things that we consider assets and tools that are out here. Sometimes remember that nothing is free. These platforms come along and they give you whenever somebody, just know that these companies are in it to make money.
Exactly.
That doesn't mean you can't benefit from it, but you have to go into it with your eyes wide open. I use the social media example is that people, they go on, they get their we get our little Google accounts and our Facebook pages and our YouTube. And we were like, wow, man, it's like these guys like Santa Claus. They're giving us all these free little tools to use. But what they're actually doing, they're leveraging you. They're leveraging your eyeballs, your traffic to sell advertising space and who knows what else. So anything, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. But just because you understand that there's an underlying motivation for the companies that are providing these services, whether it's a HELOC loan or a free Google account or a Facebook platform or YouTube, that doesn't mean that you can't benefit from it. Just understand how the system works. Use it and don't let it use you. So good words.
And not only for that, but that's anything. Never, after you begin to understand, as Mr. Fuller said, what it is and how it works. Once you understand that, then you use it and don't allow it to use you. And it's a, and it takes patience to understand just how it works. Many avenues that are connected, and interconnected, and it's designed that way to confuse you. I believe it's like a labyrinth. I think it is. So many different pathways that it can take you, and most of them according to evidence, as Mr. Fuller would say. Just look at the evidence, and the evidence points to it not being true, and then they want to dominate you. But if you don't want that to happen, then you fight back by telling the truth.
Mr. Bobby,
go ahead, Mr. Gate.
We have to, what we're going to do is that, remember, this show is the counter-racist code show. We are here to keep the memory of Mr. Fuller, his legacy alive, and to bring in new people who are not familiar with Mr. Fuller, and to let those people who have been followers of Mr. Fuller know that we are still here. We're keeping his words out here. And we put together we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we put together we're going to bring you some words of Mr. Fuller, the words of the master instructor himself. Mr. Fuller made many appearances on the Carl Nelson show on Radio 1, speaking of Miss Kathy Hughes. And Miss Hughes, I'll give her another prop because she was behind the whole concept, her and Carl Nelson, of having that nice tribute over at Radio 1. You can also get that entire tribute by going to producejustice.com. We had some notable people there talking about Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
We played some of his passages, some of his quotes. And of course, Carl Nelson, who's a master radio person. He had Mr. Fuller on his show practically every month for the past 5 years. And so it's this family. It just shows when you have people like Miss Hughes and Carl and Mr. Bobby, myself, and of course, then all wrap ourselves around Mr. Fuller and give him the reverence. He doesn't want us to celebrate him, but like Carl said on his show during that tribute, call it what you want, but we're going to do something today. We're going to celebrate it if you want to give it a different name, and that's exactly what we did, and he's so deserving. And I just say, even though he doesn't want us to celebrate him today, as long as I have breath in me, I'm going to continue to uplift him for the great things that he's done for the justice seekers all over the world.
Absolutely.
We got some greetings from Gerald Lawson. He said, I remember a time when credit was primarily for the wealthy. Most people had to save funds without the security of a bank. That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And when they did open up the banks, then it wasn't open up for everybody. We know that. Oh. It was a lot of these programs that we're seeing right now in the government, things like Social Security and a lot of these loans that were being made back in the day. They weren't for us. I mean, let me tell you, they kept us out as long as they could, and included many of those veteran benefits that were available to people when they came back from the war. Man, let me tell you, boy, sometimes I sit around and think about how we have persevered as a people in spite of all the obstacles that have been thrown before us. That's why we have to look at people like Mr. Fuller, who understood and put together a code book to help us navigate these treacherous waters. What do you say, Mr. Bobby?
Well, I say this, and I'm glad you brought that up about the bank. But did you know, Gate, that there was a bank for Black people after the Civil War, and it was called the Freedmen's Bank?
Freedmen's Bank, that's right.
Yeah, the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company, also known as the Freedmen's Bank, was a private savings bank chartered in 1865 to help newly freed African Americans become financially stable. But it failed in 1874 due to mismanagement and fraud, leaving many depositors, including Black Americans, with significant losses. I checked that out and found out that Andrew Johnson, by the way, my screen is frozen. Andrew Johnson, Abraham Lincoln's vice president, who would be considered a staunch racist, did not want this bank or anything else to succeed. And the people that they installed, and I saw the pictures of the people that they that were installed here, and they were not of us. I came to the conclusion that they deliberately let it fall into that way, to fail. And
the usual suspects.
That's a good. Mr. Ford would say the usual suspects. Now, there's a bank here called the Delphi Bank here in the area that I live in here in Central Ohio, and there's another one called I can't think of the name right now, but it's a national black bank. Once I think of the name, I'll get it, particularly after we go to commercial. But it's another black bank in supporting black issues and black financing with housing and so forth. And here it is. It's called One United Bank. That's it.
Exactly. One United.
Yeah, One United Bank. Okay.
In the DC area, we have an industrial bank. I've been a client of industrial bank since I started my company, really, since I understood banking. I have my business account there, I have a personal account. I support the banks in our community, as everyone should. All right, let's take a break, Mr. Bob. We're going to come back. When we come back, we're going to tackle it. We're going to get Mr. Fuller's take on debt.
Okay, good.
Ask that question. Is debt, or particularly personal debt, a new form of slavery? Is it got people shackled? They can't get away from it? Is it intentional? Who are the players? Why? We're going to tackle that when we come back. We're going to get Mr. Fuller's take on it. So this is the Counter Racist Code Show. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a moment.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time. I'm talking to the non-white people, particularly in the Northwestern Hemisphere, should make it a maximum effort to get out of debt. Get out of debt. Now, that's very difficult to do because of the way everything is set up. It's set up particularly to keep non-white people in the system of white supremacy to be in constant debt, having to worry about debt, having to fight about debt, and having to suffer because of something associated with debt. So many little hidden fees here and hidden fees there. So what triggered this is that I saw a program on television the other day where a lady named Miss Susan Orman, who was supposed to be a financial advisor of some substantial note, said that. And that had been on my mind, particularly during the holidays, as they're called. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Spend, spend, spend. People who have something to sell wants everybody to spend and get in debt in the process. And many people, including many black people in the Northwestern Hemisphere,
went further and further and further in debt. Well, I gotta have this. I gotta have that. And going into this new year, 2024, you should be trying to do everything you can to get out of debt, stay out of debt, and buy things that you need. There's an old saying, use it up, wear it out. Make it do or do without. I think that was coined, that expression, during what they call the Great Depression. And that's what's on my mind this morning.
Okay.
Get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one other item I want to throw in while I'm doing it. I mentioned it before on other programs. Make a will. Do it today. If you have the time and a little revenue, and take your time and pick out a lawyer that knows what he or she is doing, someone who is reliable and will making, and in that will get the power, give someone the power of attorney. That means someone who can make decisions when you, for example, may have a stroke, when you haven't had one already, and you're at least able to talk. For example, tell someone your business, which means you have to tell someone who you absolutely trust, because death can come at any time. And from the events that have been happening in the past year, it comes out of nowhere. Car jumping a curb. Drive-by shooting and you happen to get in the way. That's all over the place. Death. Think about it. Even though we don't like to think about it, think about it. It may happen in the next 15 minutes to someone who is right now on the phone. I always think that it can happen to me right this minute. The one thing you know for certain, it happened to somebody right this minute. So make that will and give someone, and a lawyer who's really trying to help you will make a suggestion. Do you want to give someone power of attorney? And if you don't know what it is, you can ask around, or ask that lawyer, and find someone you can absolutely trust and give that person or persons the power of attorney when you make the will. That's someone who can make decisions about your funeral, your hospital arrangements, all of that, when you are unable to do so. And more, that is likely to happen to a lot of people who are not looking forward to that happening in this next year. There's a great likelihood that you will not be here by the end of 2024. You have to think that way. A lot of people will say, oh, that's negative thinking. No, that's being realistic. And that pertains to a whole lot of white people. You can see what is happening in overseas, in the Ukraine, in Palestine, Israel, lots of places. Africa all the time, everywhere. You could be next on the list 2 seconds from now. Be serious about taking what I'm saying seriously. I have seen just recently too many cases. Ambulances arrive, people are hauled away, no will. It leaves a monumental mess. And it happens to a whole lot of people who are stars, people who make records, platinum records, hits, #1 on the charts, die, boom, no will. It's a simple will. $200 maybe, but you can go into debt for that one. To make a will. Well thought out. And it took a long time to say what I had to say. But I'm going to have to reiterate that from time to time. It's very important.
Mr. Bobby?
Yes, sir.
That was kind of hard to listen to, some of those words Mr. Fuller was saying about we might not be here the next day, or that was hitting home. I'm telling you, that was
Yes.
That was pretty rough. That was pretty raw. But you have to remember, Mr. Fuller's been there. He's given out some jewels, some good information. There's a quote that I've used a lot that kind of sums up what he was saying. It's by Horace. He will always be a slave who does not know how to live upon a little. And sometimes, Mr. Bobby, I feel like I've been the poster boy of some of the things that Mr. Fuller was talking about. When I was younger, I wish I had heard about the code and known about Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
I wasted a lot of money, and I made a decision later in life to get off the corporate treadmill, to free myself of debt. And I actually learned to live on half of my salary that I was making in corporate America.
Yes.
And I never felt better and more free in my life. I changed the type of cars I was driving. I got rid of most of my personal debt. I increased my credit score. And I found out that statement about he will always be a slave who knows how to live upon a little, that is a life-changing statement that I think many people should embrace, particularly in these times. We out here acting like, see, the problem is, Mr. Bobby, many people act like things are going to be the same always. And we're finding out now more than ever, nothing is guaranteed anymore.
Correct.
So you can't base the next 10, 20 years on the last 20 years.
Correct.
Don't make that assumption. It could be a very costly assumption. Go ahead, Mr. Bobby.
Yeah. I know for me that I am still learning, and my path is similar to yours, although I was not in corporate America, but I saw a higher power to learn the fundamentals of how to get out of debt, and not only that, but to stay out of debt, with credit cards and all that kind of stuff, or changing my lifestyle. I had to be taught about that and still practice that today, and try to teach others little by little with different accounts or investment accounts that, in other words, have my money work for me instead of me working for money. I freed my mind of that by following what was put down on record I didn't want to be in debt anymore. I didn't like it. It was a type of bondage. And I found out that is what the entire world is about. So then I learned, and still learning, how to make it work for me instead of me working for it. And that's one of the reasons why I brought about that HELOC thing, because I noticed that they are really trying to pressure people into doing that to lock you into more debt. And that's not good, because it has psychological effects in all the 9 areas of people activity.
Well,
Speaking about, yeah, go ahead.
There's a drive right now to these real estate, these what do you call it, home investors, real estate investors. There's a big push right now to get people out of their homes, and without much evidence to back it up other than heuristic evidence, is that tools like HELOCs, when you're putting your home on the block, basically, you're putting up your home as equity to get credit. And even though, as much as I love for people to go out and start businesses, I would say just remember that there is a big push to get you out of your house. How many times have you, in the last month or so, you've gotten this call or this text from somebody offering to buy your house?
Yes.
They're not Santa Claus. They're not, believe me, they're not doing this because they love you or they're trying to help you out. I mean, it may help you, but it's going to help them a lot more. So,
absolutely.
So anytime, I'll go back to the statement I made earlier. When somebody's trying, and then, like I said, we sometimes we justify it by saying, I was doing this because of a need. But there's also a greater push to help you increase what we call needs. There's a pretty clear, in the old days, there was a pretty clear definition there was differentiation between what a need was and what a want. I mean, you need to eat, you need health, you need shelter. You look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it was pretty much laid out.
Yeah, Abraham Maslow, right.
That's right. Exactly. But now there's this attempt through chicanery and subterfuge to confuse you. And like Mr. Fuller said, confusion is a monster. To confuse you so that you don't understand exactly what a need is. You can't differentiate between a need and a want. That is part of the strategy to get you out of your house, to get you in debt.
You bring up a good point, Gate, and that reminds me or relates to ego. And when I looked at that and began to understand it, this is what I came up with, Gate. Ego, easing God out. And when you do that, when you ease God out of your life or out of the things that you do, not sudden, but destruction is going to come your way. You have to involve him in every step of your life in order to navigate the vicissitudes of life, because they are out there and they are designed to trip you up. But he makes it clarity, when you don't ease God out, then you can become focused on what you need to do. And this is what Fuller was trying to do in that code book that you can get at producejustice.com. Read it, understand it, so that you can begin to fight against done against you. For red line. But when I found out, those that did it knew what it was and knew I didn't know and used me until I was able to understand it and do something about it. Gate?
Well, I would say, as we become enlightened, as we see the light, as we get on code, it behooves us to bring others along. I remember I was at a networking event a couple of years ago. A young brother came in. He had a BMW out in the parking lot, maybe about 4 or 5 years old. I mean, it was really a very nice car. And he came up to me and said, Gate, I'm about to get the latest model. I don't keep up with the models anymore. That's how far I'm
Yeah.
from that anymore. He said, this one has served me well, but I'm ready for the next model now. He almost used the word need. I need to get the next one because, well, of course, Mr. Bobby, this was even before I was even on code, but I was also fresh out of a rash of bad decisions, and I was back into rebuilding my financial freedom. And so I feel like part of my recovery was to bring as many people along with me. So I looked at that young brother. I looked at him and I just said, 3 words: don't do it. Now, I'm sure most of his life, because we weren't that far apart in age, probably about 5 or 6 years of life. There's this thing called social proof. Social proof is the doing things that others do because you feel like you're insecure in making decisions on your own, so you follow the path of others. You look to others for leadership and guidance. I'm sure many people would have jumped on and said, "Look, man," or would felt a little like, "Well, I'm embarrassed because I can't afford that same car myself," or for whatever reason, not did the pushback. So I'm just going to tell the audience out here: when people come to you with that foolishness, don't co-sign. Tell them about debt. Tell them about Mr. Fuller. Tell them about the code. Send them to Produce Justice, because sometimes we're not equipped verbally. We don't have the resources to back it up. Get them on code. Send them to producejustice.com. Tell them to get the book, because I'm going to tell you, I don't have all the answers myself. I can only tell you what I've learned through living life. But Mr. Fuller lived a lot longer. He was 95 years old when he left this earth.
Yes.
And he left the instructions in 3 books. You can get them at producejustice.com.
And I was getting ready to say that Produce Justice of the books, and I know our time is short, but that's 3 books. And you can get it by going to producejustice.com. Make sure you do that. There's also a book called The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. You need to get that book if you can. That's The Destruction of the Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. And also, to help us understand also, They Came Before Columbus by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima will help shape you with information so that you can understand racism, what it is, and how it works. Those are just 3 authors that will help you tune in to where you need to be. And remember that it is a process. It's not going to be overnight. You have to take this information, research it, dissect it, and then apply it to your life, meaning that you don't let them dominate you, but you dominate it.
Mr. Bobby, you said it. Closing, I'm going to say this. Debt can appear like a form of slavery. It gets you in its shackles, its tentacles wrap around you. It can suffocate you. It can break up homes. It can lock you into a mental state that's unhealthy. Yeah. It can challenge your life milestones. Instead of doing something by this time in your life, it keeps being pushed down the road because you have all this debt on you. So take the words of Mr. Fuller. He's laid it out in this message that we played today. You can go back and play it and share it with others. He goes into more deeper detail. So we asked when we set up these shows, is slavery, is debt, personal debt, a new form of slavery? What does the code say? Mr. Fuller laid it out for us today. It's pretty unambiguous, if you ask me. Mr. Bobby, last word?
You just said it then. You said it best.
Look, we'll be back next. We'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in. For all of the new viewers, thank you. For all of the followers who've been with us for the past 5 years and beyond, thank you. Thank you for the comments, for the engagement. We'll be back next week. I'll be with me, Gate, and Mr. Bobby. And until then,
ProduceJustice.com.
ProduceJustice.com. We'll see you next week.
All right.
If you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time, all of the time, all of the time.